Hi, it's Grandpa Butler again. Going to do some watercolors here. This is a desert turtle for one of my colleagues at work. I'm going to do the turtle with the ochre and this saffron, this like kind of purple red and this brown here to get its shell and its body. And let's add another lighter one for its neck, light ochre. Then the mountains are going to be Prussian blue and moss green. And the desert floor is going to be like a crimson, English red, or what is this? It's English red, huh? Some green and some orange. Okay, so those are the colors. We'd like to start out with a little bit of typical sky here, which is much easier doing watercolors. So I just have some loose paint here, and so I'm going to do some sky here for us, and then we'll be on our way with there's the mountains, edge of the mountains here. So you come across here, and yeah, that's enough sky there. Okay, we're done with the typical watercolors, which really is much easier to do things like skies and stuff with these kinds of watercolors, oceans, than my watercolor crayons. But on the other hand, I find watercolor crayons are a lot friendlier. So with those colors that I gave you a few minutes ago, three-step procedure, you see in the picture of the turtle, and now we're going to color the turtle, and then we'll put in the mountains and the desert floor. This is a Mojave desert turtle. Back to our desert turtle here, the colors here. We're going to start out with our kind of light ochre here, shining before I forget about it here on its head, little bit here on its outstretched neck and on its head. We need a kind of light red for its tongue, so I'll borrow this red here and smear it around, right? Why not? And then we're going to do, let's see, a darker ochre here underneath the bottom here where it's a little bit more shaded, and in here. These parts down here are this kind of like mostly ochre, darker ochre color. So let's put that in, and they're kind of framed in that sort of purplish color here. So we'll put that in and kind of work that around when we get back to this place here. Darker ochre here. Okay, Grandpa, let's take off. So we have this sort of ochre color here, and it works down in bands. So let's start out here where it's totally ochre color. And it's interesting, on the bottoms it's kind of reversed from the mid and top sections. This is a beautiful desert animal here out in the western United States. And there's so many beautiful animals, right? It's kind of hard to keep track of them all. And then the next one, as we get further away, we get our sort of, this is the chiffon color here. We'll do that in bands. So, because there really are these bands of colors on this particular desert turtle. And, okay, and now we're going further out on our turtle, and the next outer layer is going to be a sort of brown before we get to the final. So I'll put a brown here. I don't want, when I do this, you'll see that I'm going to brush in the same way I'm stroking here. I don't want to mix all these colors together. I want to leave them distinct. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dabble more than stroke, and when I stroke, I'm going to stroke in the direction of the that I'm putting these colors down. So I'm sort of drawing the color down, and then I'm going to activate them in this sort of same way here. And yeah, these legs are sort of a little bit of this sort of darker ochre color, and it looks like this leg here is floating on air, which is pretty good. I think that's a really good trick that any turtle will have up its sleeve. Okay. And then there'll be lots of browns here, so I'll dabble those in when we get here. Try and show it's in the same sort of interesting color arrangements here. So the final parts here come underneath here for shadow, up here, and here for more shadow, shadow underneath, is coming back to our kind of purplish color on the outer side here. And so that's the last one there. Let's bring that through here. And this is such a beautiful animal. I know I'm not doing justice to it. Very colorful kind of creature here. And so on. So what are we here? Mostly dark brown. Kind of hard to see when you're in shadow, so we can do mostly dark brown there too. Okay. And a little darker under the chin. So we get our watercolor brush. This is the brush I like to use because it's very portable, and when I'm backpacking or away on a trip, it's just much easier to use that. So let me go around between the shells and activate this kind of darker color first, this sort of purplish color. Now we'll come back and do within the shells here. Okay. And maybe I'll come underneath and get that all things here. Come back here. Okay, and now we're going to go within the shells. And again, I don't want to mix all these colors up. I want to leave these bands here. But I want to have fun, and so I don't want to spend a lot of time, doing every single little thing. Stroke, 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 stroke. And so I am trying to do this in a kind of fun way that I can bring to realization what I see in this turtle in a kind of quicker way. So I think what I'll do on these last ones here on top, I'll do all the ochre first, and I'll come in and do the brown, and then I'll come back and do the other colors. So now the brown, and I'll just work my way down here. Trying not to smear the colors together, trying to leave them in kind of bands, not getting rid of all the pigment, but leave some of it there. Sort of a rough indication of life here. So here we have the underside of our turtle, and what we're going to do now is his head here. And that is actually relatively bright here, as indicated. His tongue, maybe he's catching his breath after beating the rabbit. Desert rabbits are very fast, but they give up and take naps quickly. So you can just see how this guy may have beaten him. So we've got parts 1 and 2 done of our 3-part series, and the third part is to get the mountains in the background. And I said they're going to be blue and moss green. What I mean is sort of typical of these western areas here. We have these towering peaks coming down into these little valleys. So this is supposed to be towering peaks here. Let's give some shape to some of the peaks. Come that, bring that one down. That way and that one that way. How's How's that? So they don't all look monotonous. And we'll have that be the desert floor. Okay, that's the desert floor down here. Grandpa, remember that's the desert floor. You said that. Okay, I'm trying to remember that. Okay, so we're having these kinds of mountains here, and here where the gravel has come in. These peaks have worn off in this area over the years, and so they're kind of in there. Let's have the light coming in kind of from the left, so there'll be more green on the left side. How's that? More blue on the right side. So that's what Grandpa's aiming to do, if he can remember to do that in a consistent way as we go through the painting here. It is Grandpa after all, so you've got to cut him some slack. Okay. You do that for your grandpas, right? And your grandmas. I'm glad to hear that. So moss green here, coming down here. When you look at desert mountains and a lot of mountains in the distance, you do have these interesting shades of blue and green. And so we're just playing with that here in our drawing. And as we drag the water and some of the hues out of the pigment down on the paper, we'll create kind of our own impressionistic, and Grandpa's painting says, yeah, he makes a lot of mistakes. They're impressions. Oh, and maybe he meant to do a few of these things. Yeah, those are lucky impressions. Okay, just so we know. I got it out in the open. Okay, spilled the beans and the bacon and whatever. Let me just put a little bit more blue down here and maybe some base cliffs right in here before the desert floor. Okay, so let's activate that. So activate that and get our pen here. And, oh, I guess I could work top down this way. How's that? It would be easier if I turned it down, except it would, this stroking this way is easier. And watched it while I did it. But I don't want to waste too much of your time. I want you to just get ideas how you can play around and create your own sort of worlds here with these crayons. These are water-soluble crayons. Different brands work. The ones I've tried, few that I've tried, work pretty much the same way, just some have more colors than others. And here we go, spinning forever on this. I know mountains sometimes do take forever. I think that's a verse in Genesis. And lo and behold, the mountains were created, but they took forever. And when they were done being created, God said, that's a really good thing. Actually, I want everyone to know, Heavenly Father does live and love you very much. Even better than Grandpa. And I love you at times. Okay. Not sure about the mountains, but I'm pretty sure that's what he would have said when he was done moving all that soil and stuff. Okay, those are mountains there. Now we're going to do the desert floor and bring in our last sets here. I'm thinking that the desert floor here that I'm familiar with is a lot of green, orange desert. So here we're going to have just orange here. So again, this is creating the impression of stretches of sand down here. And in the sand, I'm going to have sections of a reddish hue. This is English red, which is kind of like a, almost a brownish thing. And then we'll put in a few sticky up things. Maybe they're cactus, maybe they're little desert trees. Okay, but let's get this desert floor here all situated, and then we'll do in our plants, and then I think we'll be pretty much done. Okay, so there's the desert floor. I didn't want it to take away from the mountains or the turtle, so this is all experiments for Grandpa. It's colors, combinations and stuff. Each one is kind of fun and new. So I really appreciate the suggestion of looking at this turtle. And did we ever do the legs? Not sure we did, but we're doing them now. And maybe we're doing them again for the nth time. I don't remember. That's the nice thing about being senior citizen, is that you can forget these things and people say, oh, just because he's really old. How's that? If only the IRS accepted that excuse. Oh, he's really old. He couldn't see the difference between $10 and $10,000 on the form of payment there. I saved the kind of dark color, so we have the sort of sun coming in that way, so I'm going to put a sort of crimson under where the turtle is, both to give him sort of ground him or her in the desert, and give it some kind of perspective, if you will. Get our thing in, dabble up the crimson red here, and now what we want to do is we want to put in some green stuff here and there. Now where it's still wet, you get this kind of nice runny green stuff here. So this is the Utah, Colorado, Arizona kind of desert here. There's not a lot of green. And maybe this is where there's a kind of ditch, so you can follow where that ditch is, that gully is, and following the green going out, and that's what that is. And there we have a complete kindly ecosystem. Okay, ecosystem is when you shout in a garage at yourself all night long. Why didn't I answer D on that question? Why did I think it was C? And then it echoes in the garage and you feel better about yourself, I guess. Okay, pretty good. Yeah, little touch-ups here and there. And then a little kind of signature in the corner. And I think we're okay. That was our desert turtle today. Thank you for watching it. It's always fun. Take care of yourself. Be kind to one another. Bye-bye.